Thank you all for attending today. I just wanted to let you know you're in for a treat. Jason is one of my all-time favorite realtors that I know in our market here in Chicago, and for a multitude of reasons. But I think you guys are really going to learn a lot about Jason. He's a master at his craft. He is a relationship guy. I'll let him tell you more about that. But he doesn't buy leads. He doesn't pay for Zillow. He's grown his business over the last 22 years as homegrown. So he's very organic, and I love that about him. Not only that, I don't know if you guys read the description today, but he booked $90 million in Q1. It's insane, right? And it's not a big team. They don't have a big team. It's him and his sister. Just so you know, that was two of them that did that. And he still has time, which is incredible, to coach his kids in sports, do a podcast, and have like a really good work-life balance. So that's what I admire most about Jason. He's a good dude, but he's also a good dad, and he finds a way to spend time with his family in this business. So without further ado, you guys are definitely in for a treat. Take some notes today, but I'd like to introduce my buddy Jason Stratton here in Chicago with a Clopas Stratton team.
Thanks so much. Can everybody hear me? I'm good. Okay. Just want to make sure there's no technical issues before I start. Thank you so much for the introduction, Mike. I appreciate that. Um, so I'm gonna start. I'm gonna make sure I look at my clock so I don't ramble on too much on certain things that I want to talk about. Obviously, while we're talking, what I thought I'd do is spend 15 minutes on each thing that I think is important, which I kind of call my pillars, and then we can take questions and we can go back. If someone has a question, I don't see them, but Mike or whoever is going to be kind of doing that. If you see a question that needs attention, just cut in and let me know, and I can further explain it. All right, so I want to give a little bit of my background first. It'll be really quick. My background is math. I have 3 degrees. I have a degree in, Mike, you don't know this, but I have a degree in business management. I have a degree in philosophy, and I have a degree in psychology. I'm like Tommy Boy. I spent 7 years in college because I went to college in California and I did not want to leave. And then my dad finally told me that the game's up, get home. So uh, that will kind of play into how I got to where I was, mostly the psychology and the philosophy. The business was very nice in terms of economics and stuff like that, but the other 2 degrees actually helped me the most. From there, I was recruited as an options trader at the Mercantile Exchange. I was the first person to put on a computer trade, a mini, in the whole world. So I'm literally sitting there as a picture of me pushing a computer button. I was the first person to push and trade electronically. At my height, I was like about 10% of the volume in electronic trading in the NASDAQ. And then I started a trading group. I started training people in that capacity. And from there, I started buying real estate. And from buying real estate, I transitioned into selling real estate just because so many of my friends that were around me were asking me to help them. The reason I say this is because as I get further along in my career, my trading background and how I view things really had a huge impact on where I'm at today. Um, from there, I saw an industry, and I will talk about this too. I saw an industry that saw it trillions of dollars changing hands every minute. That industry changed overnight. People became dinosaurs within a week. This kind of is what I'm thinking about as we see industry changes that are happening now in our industry as tech, AI, and other things take over. From there, obviously, I started my sister, who's my partner. That's the closest part right there. She gave me a start in a 20-unit development and said, "Here you go, figure it out." Obviously, with some tutelage, and from there, we did primarily 80 to 85% new construction. At about 2006, 2007, I was nervous that all of our business was coming from one pot. That would be two developers. And we started to diversify our business. So from there, we went from '08 to 11 as crazy as it sounds, from '08 to 11, we pretty much doubled our business every year. So when other people kind of weren't having much success during the meltdown, our relationship and basically a ton of relationships that I had with cash rich people that were on the trading floor were buying assets. From there, it catapulted us to 13, 14, and the rest is history. So that's kind of my background. I kind of look at everything very mathematically. I'm extremely disciplined. Nothing that I have done literally is hard to do. It's just coming up with processes and coming up and keeping myself accountable. So I'm gonna talk about what I learned on the trading floor and kind of what I've learned in real estate. And that's the number one of my pillars is who you are. I know this sounds so elementary, but a lot of people don't know who they are. And the first thing I always talk to people that want to get involved in any business, be it a trader, a builder, real estate, any type of business, is you have to know who you are. The biggest issue that I've seen from training people from trading to training people in real estate is people lie to themselves. If you're going to be successful in anything, you have to truly know who you are and not lie to yourself about who you are. Once you know who you are, you can then lean in to what you're good at. But you have to be honest on that first place. And I will explain what I mean by that. What I mean by that is I am a terrible cold caller. Terrible. I am terrible at door knocking. Those are things that I cannot do. I can meet anybody at any place and talk their heads off. I have extreme anxiety walking up to a door and knocking on it. That's just who I am. I am not going to try to become a cold caller and a door knocker because that's not my personality and that's not how I thrive and who I am as a person. Now, there are people in Chicago that sell 100 to 300 million only doing that. They, however, do not have great interpersonal skills. They're not very good. They don't do open houses. They don't meet clients out and about. There's nothing wrong with what they do because they know who they are. But that's how they make their living in that route. I, on the other hand, make my living by contacts, by meeting people. I don't do parties. I don't do this. But when I meet somebody and an introduction is made, like however it's made, I can take that relationship and I can nurture it, become friends, because it's such an intimate relationship that an agent and a buyer with their biggest purchase they ever make in their life. And then that's how I bring forward to other parts, right, of those relationships, with the relationships that they have with other people. That's what I'm good at. So if you're good at that, if you can hold a conversation, if you're personable and you're like, I can't door knock, I can't do this. Everything I read online is, oh, Tom Ferry says I got to do this. This person says I got to do that. You don't. What you need to do is figure out who you are, what you're good at, and then lean into it. What I've learned is that who I am and what I am is what people are buying. People want to buy stuff from people they like. When you are authentic and you present yourself in a manner that is true to who you are, like people, when I mean like people like yourself will be attracted to you. When they are attracted to you, they become simpatico. You have this interpersonal relationship. That is when you will become successful because they will turn to people who are like people. And they'll say, you'll like this person because they're X, Y, and Z. That's why who you are and knowing who you are is so important. There is enough business in the United States of America that everyone can be able to be who they are themselves. And that is one of the most important things that I've seen in terms of success and not success. I had coffee with Mike this morning and I said, I've been at tables with dinners with 12 agents You know, we have like a monthly thing. Sometimes it gets too busy. It's 2 months, this. And I'm sitting at the table. The lowest production at that table for a single person is probably 20 million. Every person in that table I can relate to. Every person in that on that table is a like person to me. And every person in that table, their clients would probably like me as much as they like themselves. Everyone at that table is authentic. If you're presenting yourself in a manner that is not who you really are, here's a newsflash. You're going to be spending hours with this person. They're going to know eventually who you really are, and it's not going to work out. It's almost like fully disclosing a property. Like for a property to be for a transaction to be a seamless transaction, over disclosure is always the best, because then there's a rapport of honesty. At no point does someone think someone's trying to screw each other, because you've over disclosed everything. As an agent, over disclose who you are. I like this. I like basketball. I have 3 kids. I don't like kids. I like cats. I hate dogs. Whatever it is, over disclose who you are. I mean, I'm going to tell you, we had a thing with Mike in the past. I've stood up in 4 of my clients' weddings. These are people I never knew. You know, I never knew these people. I've been invited to 20 plus weddings. I've been invited. I went to a wedding with clients, and I sat at the family table. And the dad looked at me and he's like, "You're part of the family because you've gotten our kid to like the most important part of his life." This is not me trying to get there to get business. That doesn't work. People see through that. This is me because I like these people, right? If you don't like the person you're working with, I don't know if anyone here reads. When I was in high school, I read don't ask me why, but this is probably my philosophical and my psychology thing. I used to read nonverbal books. So nonverbal communication is 90% of communication, if you guys don't know this. The aura around your body exists. Now, I'm not out there and stuff like that, but I do believe we all carry an aura. We all carry, and you know, have you ever been to a party and it's that person that walks into the room and lights up the room, or walks into a room and commands attention? That aura exists. And the more honest you are and the more authentic you are, when you meet those clients, they're going to feel that. And people gravitate to that aura. They gravitate to that. And once you have those people want to turn around. There's nothing more, this is a psychology thing, but there's nothing more gratifying to somebody that buys something or does something to get their friends to do it too. Because what it does is it justifies the fact that they did it first. So there's nothing, these are literally psychological things. So there's nothing like someone saying, "Oh, I used Jason and I had the greatest time and we had an unbelievable experience. We got the place we love, yada, yada, yada." You got to use them. When that person uses them, that person feels justified. That person feels like they've done something good too. And then when you like them, the next person does, then that person feels great and they want to sing your praises even more. So to me, knowing who you are is one of the most important things that you can do. And being true, I don't wear suits. I wear t-shirts. I have tattoos. That's just who I am. If someone likes someone that's in a suit and a tie, they're not for me. If I meet them in a suit and a tie, they're not going to see the authentic me. People can smell liars. I'm telling you, you may think you're pulling something else off on somebody. They can smell it. I don't know how many of you have kids. Everyone here knows when their kid's lying. You just do. So that is the same thing. People are knowing how you are and who you are. I'm telling you right off the bat, the more authentic you are and the more you lean into who you are, the more business you're going to get. But the most important thing is, to do that, you have to have an honest conversation with yourself. And that is the one thing that a lot of people don't like to do. You need to have that conversation and say, this is what I can do. This is what I can't do. Right. And you can listen to somebody say, oh, I door knock here. I do this. There's a guy on Instagram that puts his phone in his car and videotapes himself door knocking. I love it. He gets this. I ain't never doing it, but I like to watch it. It's fun. But that's not who I am. Right. I can go into a party. I can meet one person. I always got to be introduced to one person. I cannot go blind into a party and just talk to somebody. But once I get that one person, I can hold court, right? So that's me. That's who I am. So I'm always like, introduce me to that one person, and then I can do my thing, right? Everybody here, when they go to a party, if someone says to you, this is a little bit off topic, but it's in my head, so I want to get it off. When you go to a party and you're talking to somebody and you're a real estate agent, prepare yourself on the topics that are front and center in real estate that week, because everybody likes to talk about real estate. Everybody. And I'm going to tell you how I get clients, and I'm going to toot my horn. I'm extremely well versed, extremely well versed. I can talk on pretty much any topic. That's all I do is read or listen to books or listen to podcasts of people that are much smarter than me. And whatever conversation comes up, I can handle. If you don't know everything that's going on in economics, the 10-year note, the treasuries, the yield curve, that's stuff that you got to know when you go to a party. Why? Because another thing I will tell you with who you are. Everybody here, all 56 of you, at every moment, you're an interview. Anytime you leave your house, you're being interviewed. I had a broker that told me that once. It was the best thing she ever said. She told me two things that were amazing, and I'll get to the other one. The first thing she told me is you're always on interview. So whenever you're in a social situation, if someone has a question about real estate, you better know the damn answer. And you better have some sort of capacity to discuss that, because that is how you pick up clients. And I'll get to that. That's my third pillar, but I didn't want to forget that. Mike, do you want to take any questions on what I just went over before I go to the next one?
No, go ahead. I'm watching it for you.
We're good?
You're gonna get to how this all leads to, like, I know where you're going with this. So
Yeah.
good stuff.
All right. The next thing is the most important thing. Now you know who you are. Okay, we all know who we are. I know who I am. Everybody knows who they are. The next thing is goals. Now, there's a huge difference between goals and tactics. Okay? Most people list goals as tactics. Okay? Calling 5 people a day that you know, door knocking, sending out canceled letters, whatever you do, these are not goals. When you start your year out, your goal isn't, I'm going to call 5 people a day. That is a tactic. Tactics create goals. There is a book called The 12-Week Year. I never knew about this book. However, I've always treated my life like that. Everything's in the moment. The 12-Week Year book basically says, take a year and make it 12 weeks. And every 12 weeks, you reevaluate your tactics, not your goals. You reevaluate your tactics, which fulfill your goals. So your goal may be, hey, I want to sell $10 million this year. I want to sell $5 million. That's the goal. Your tactics are, how do I get there? Now, here is why you need to know who you are. If your tactics are not in line with who you are as a person, you're going to fail. Your tactics have to be in line with who you are as a person, and then to create that goal. Now, the first time you put tactics together, none of us know if they're going to work or not. That's why it's a 12-week year. Anything you do, you have to give it time. If you're a person, this is when you're honest with yourself. When you're a person that tries something for 1 week, I'm going to lift weights for 1 week and I'm going to be the biggest man in the world. That does not work. I'm going to lift weights for 12 weeks to see where I'm at. That works. So when you put tactics together, after 12 weeks, what is happening? Are you seeing a change? Which tactics are working the best? After 12 weeks, whatever tactic isn't working, why would we do it again? Right? In one of my booklets that I hand out to my clients, I say Albert Einstein, one of my favorite quotes from Einstein is, to do things over and over again is insanity. And to do things over and over again, expect different results is insanity. It's the definition of insanity. I'm really close to the quote. Why? That's the application here. If I do 4 things, if I call 5 clients a day, I check MLS for cancels and expires and send out letters, or make calls. You may want to make calls. I'm not a call guy. I told you that. I send out letters. If I'm going to do, I have 2 other tactics, right? If I'm going to go around and take video, whatever your tactic is, if those tactics are producing, we don't change them. The next 12 weeks, I have those same tactics that are working. What I'm changing is the stuff that's not working. So I was on an airplane coming back from the best of the best, Berkshire Hathaway, which I used to work for 20 years. I'm now with Sotheby's. And I was on the plane and I looked at my mentor. His name's Joe Stacy. And I have tons of mentors, but he inspires me. His energy does. And I said, man, Joe, I'm in a little bit of a rut. And as I said to Mike, ruts are different. It's, hey, I usually sell, I will be honest with you, I usually sell about $1 million a week. That's my run. And I had slowed up a little bit. And I said, hey, I am in a little bit of a lull here. I'm not getting something. The energy isn't there. And he said, okay, well, what do you do? I said, I do this, 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 this. And one of the things I said is now I've been in the business 20 years. So I don't know how many people have been in the business, actually 22. I still do open house. Why? Because I'll get into that. I still do open houses because I'm very good at it. That runs into my thing. If you're not an open house person, spend your time other ways. But I grab clients in open houses, and I'll get into why I do that. And if you don't grab clients, I'm going to tell you why you don't. That's the next one. And he said, you do 4 open houses. I said, yeah. He's like, how much time is that? I said, that's about 9 hours. Setting up, yada, yada, lights, this, that, right? He's like, how much time do you spend on reach out? At this point, I wasn't really doing a lot of reach out. What I would do is if I drove by a house, and I still do this on top of everything else. If I drive by a house and I know I sold that house to somebody, I pull over on the street. I literally take a picture of the house and I text the owners, hey, just drove by your place, just thinking of you. That's it. I'm going to tell you right now, that goes for miles. People love that. And I also love just telling, hey, I drove by your house, or I'll tell a really funny joke about what happened. Like, oh my God, do you remember that dead rat in the crawl space? Or do you remember that agent? She was crazy. Like, whatever it is, I'm not just, and I will tell you in 22 years, I've never used any drip campaigns. I think they're garbage. So to take that, whoever uses them, I think they're garbage. So I think that's just not taking your time on someone that spent a lot of money with you. So I will bring something up because the specifics of that text is what drives home the fact that I still think of them, right? So he said, why don't you pull away from the open house? So I do 2. And then with that time you have, allocate 8:30 to 9:30 in the morning to reaching out more consistently to people. I did that for 12 weeks. I went from 22 million to 40 just off that. It costs no money. It lets people know about you. that you're still thinking of them. And the most important thing he said is when you reach out to people about every 3 or 4 months, when they're at dinner, everybody talks about real estate at some point. Oh, where you living? This. I'm thinking about moving. Well, I just had a text message with him a week ago talking about some craziness that happened at his house. I'm at top of their mind. We need to be top of mind on our clients at all times. At all times, when they think of anything, you have to be top of mind, and that happens from reach out. If there's one thing you need to do on your tasks, is reach out. If you don't have enough clients, minimum, I'm telling you right now, 4 open houses a weekend. If you're a new agent and you're not in front of people at least 8 hours a week, you will not make it. If you're dug in the ground and you cannot find business, that's it. I got all my business. And let me tell you what happens at open houses. It's basically like a comedian going to an open mic every week until he gets the perfect comedic set. We are working on our game. We are working on our sales pitch. You're working on, hey, you know what? Like how many times, I'm not getting too far off topic, but how many times have you been at a showing and you said the wrong thing? And the minute you say it, you're like, oh shit, I just lost it. You're never going to say it again. But you have to have those mistakes all the time, right? If you don't have clients, an open house is going to put you in front of 15 to 20 people in a 2-hour period where you have to be like this, like this. As soon as this person says this, I know I got to say this. When this person says something bad about this, I can reel them back into this. That's it. We all have 30 to 45 seconds to sell somebody the biggest investment in their life. You're not going to be able to do that without repetition. So the open houses are key. And I'm going to get back to my task. So you have to have these tasks lined up, and that's going to produce the results. Another thing I did is I'm a very huge print media person. I love print media. It's not dead. I'm telling everybody it's not dead. The right postcard, if you send out the right postcard, every thousand postcards you send out, you will get a solid lead. I promise you that. But you have to be consistent, just like the 12-week year. Okay, I'm consistently going to send out a postcard every 3 weeks. Now, people say, I don't have that type of money. Okay, everybody has a little bit of money that they can invest into their business. If you don't, get out of business and work for someone else. If you can't put money into your business, it's not a business. How do you maximize that task, the postcard task? You literally have to be extremely, extremely area specific. You need to be in one spot, which leads me to number 2 of what my managing broker taught me. I used to work Chicago from way north to way south. And when we were sitting down, Sophia and I were doing about 12 or 13 million. This was years ago. I sat down and we had breakfast with a guy that's no longer with us, Chuck Duro, who was a great agent. And he said, tell me your business. I'm like, well, we do this. I did this in Rogers Park. I did this on the south side. I did this on the west side. I'm over here. I was up here, like hour here, hour here. And the first thing he said is stop. He goes, no one is successful that is not an expert. You cannot, I'm talking about individual agents. If you guys work for a big group, work 40 miles. You cannot be successful if you are not an expert. And the only way to be an expert is to shrink your boundaries, right? And that's relative. If you're out in, if you're out in the suburbs, deep suburbs, what is shrinking? Maybe that's 20 miles. When you're in the city of Chicago, it's 8 blocks. I shrunk my print media when I started to 8 blocks. And I said, I'm going to consistently strike this area because that's all I had the money for. And on top of it, I lived in that neighborhood and I knew every single thing. I know the dogs. I know where they go to the bathroom. I know everything about that area. That is the key. So my tasks were call 5 people, do 2 open houses, right? Print media to a small area. And the fourth task that I added was starting to do video. I'm going to tell you right now, if you do not do social media and if you do not do videos, you are going to be the person that I watched in the trading pit make money and then never have money again. Guys, everything is going to video. Everything. And if you have an established social media presence, no matter what happens, everybody's shaking. Zillow's fighting Compass, Clear Cooperation, Private. We're all hearing the same stuff. If you can go directly to the consumer from your social media and you could present your product, which is your stuff, right? You have the guys, we're the realtors. We have the content. We give the content out. Get that content directly to people that are looking for homes in your area. I will tell you, talk about taxes. Last year, I cut my print budget in half. I took that print budget and I applied it to social media, video, and management of my social media site and my YouTube page. I did that in August of last year. First quarter of this year, my GCI, my commissions on social media alone were $250,000. I'm consistent. If a video bombs, I don't care. Every day. Now, I'm going to get on to the third one. Is there any questions on that? We can get into social media more too. I know that's like the hot topic. And in Chicago, I'm kind of big in that in my space. But what I'm going to lead to next kind of brings number 2 and 1 together. Mike, are we good? Should I go on to next? Okay. Everything that we talked about over the last 30 minutes, 35 minutes means nothing if you're not educated. Period. End of story. Full stop. If you can't go into a party and talk about why the 10-year is swinging around, you can't go into a party and tell somebody how an HVAC works. If you can't go into a party and talk about the local market, you can't go into a party and talk about how zoning laws are affecting inventory. You may do a little bit of business, but you'll never be a huge producer. Everything I've talked about leans on the fact that I'm constantly teaching myself and what's happening around us. Education is the most important part. To be able to sell a house, and I'm not trying to be like, I have this discussion with my buddies, right? And this is not meant to be insulting. But I don't know how people sell a product that they don't know how it's made. That blows my mind. If you want to do 20, 30, 40, 50 million, like you really want to be great at your job. And when I'm telling you this, I'm not talking about doubling the amount of transactions you're doing. I'm talking about doubling the price point. Because real people that are at my production level, we don't sell 400 homes, right? I sell homes from, my average used to be 400,000. Now it's about $1 million. And in Chicago, that's the big number. The average house in Chicago is 400. So I'm 2Xing plus the average house in Chicago. But I'm doing that because I'm educated in the aspects of my business. If you want to be great at anything, you have to study what it is. How does a pitcher become a Cy Young Award winner? You ever listen to pitchers, hitters, you ever listen to elite athletes? The amount of education they have in their craft And the people that they're facing is amazing. The people that you're facing are all the other realtors in your area. Those are your competitors. What separates you from the other competitors is your education. Who you are and your tactics get that education out. Because if you're brilliant and you don't call people and you don't tell people and you don't show people and you don't take videos showing that, then what's the point? What's the point of sitting in a room and knowing everything and not being able to get that out to people? That's why who you are and the tactics are so important, because your education is what fuels those. Everybody here, the number one thing, listen, how do you buy a home? You buy a home with money. Okay. If people have cash, that's amazing. They buy cash, right? Most of us don't have all cash buyers. Most of the people here need to get a loan. If you don't have long conversations with your mortgage broker on how loans work, how the 10-year works, how consumer price index affects pricing, how producer price index affects pricing, how tariffs affect pricing, to have a trigger word, tariff. If you don't have conversations with experts in those fields, how can you talk to your clients? When I started and my sister put me on a new construction project, I sold out that project. The developer said, I'm buying a huge piece of land in Lincoln Park. We're doing 50 units. I looked at him and said, I want to be there for fucking everything. Everything. I was there when he borrowed the money from the bank. I sat in every single architectural meeting. I went to the zoning board meetings and listened to people yell and scream and what their concerns were. And then I was at the job site every day. And anytime I saw something, I would grab somebody and be like, what are you doing? What's this? What's this? What's this? And guess what? That's free, people. That didn't cost me anything. It cost me nothing. I didn't have business coming out of my rear, but I knew the more I knew when I sold this place, I knew where every nail was, right? So when I sold this 50 unit development, I sold that in 08 and 09. And every agent was like, how are you selling in this market? I'm like, because I know where every nail is. When somebody came to my development or somebody comes to a place that I'm doing, they're going to leave so warm and fuzzy because they're going to know everything about that place. And they're going to know that I'm not lying because I have studied everything about that building and that area. And that is key. That is education. That is what you need to become elite. You can be a great broker. An elite broker is educated more than their contemporaries. That is the difference. And education is free. You just have to do it, which leads me to something else. When you know who you are you disciplined? Right? No one's telling us what to do. You have to be disciplined. This is part of the education. You know, I had a talk with Mike about this, and sometimes people give me slack on this. I think everyone's task, one of everybody's tasks when they start out, and you should never have more than 5 tasks. I should go back to that. Anything more than 5 tasks, you're just lying to yourself. You don't have the capacity to do it. If you're doing it right. I mean, if your task is, I'm going to take 5 sips of coffee in the morning, okay, add tasks. I mean, real tasks. Only about 5 of them. One of these tasks has to be, and don't fight me on this, I'm telling you, I hang out with huge producers. There's not a producer I hang out with that does not exercise. And I'm not telling you that you're overweight. I'm not, because I can't see anybody. I'm not telling anything about anything. If you cannot self-motivate yourself to work out 3 times a week, I'm telling you this, there's outliers. I'm not going to talk about the outliers. You may have a parent who's got $17 billion friends. I'm talking about everyone else. If you can't self-motivate yourself to work out 3 times a week, you're not going to make it. And I'm going to tell you why. That means you don't have the discipline to perform your task. You just don't. If you can't get yourself out, take a 2 mile walk, which is free. You don't have a membership to a gym, get on an app, do some push-ups, do some plyometrics, whatever it is. Hold yourself accountable. If you can't hold yourself accountable 3 times a week to exercise, which helps your mind, helps your brain, helps everything. Listen, we're all going to get old. You want to make sure you can walk the show stuff in your mid-50s, right? If you can't hold yourself to work out, I'm telling you, it's a problem. And I've seen it. I've seen agents that could not perform, that added physical conditioning to the regimen and started producing. It holds you accountable. Listen, Sophia and I booked, two of us booked $90 million in 1 quarter. I have 3 kids. They're on 6 travel teams. I coach an 8-year-old team. I have a game every Saturday. I have practices during the week. I have like 3 practice drops. I'm an Uber driver, everything. I do all my own showings. There's no lock boxes. And I do all my texts every morning. If I can do that, everybody else can do it too. It just depends if you're willing to do that. Do you know yourself? Are you willing to do that? Are the tasks that you're putting in front of yourself, are they part of who you are? And are those tasks and who you are they educated? That's the most important thing. Once you finish that out, once you figure that out, everything else will come. But everybody here, if you have one promise to yourself, it's I'm going to get out 3 times a week and take a walk, right? 3 times a week, take a walk, lift a weight. You actually should be doing weight training, but that's a whole other discussion for your body. Get out, walk 3 times a week. Everyone's going to call 2 people a day, right? The third thing is you're going to get hyper-local. Wherever you live, you're going to get hyper-local. What's the great thing about walking around your neighborhood? You start to see every piece of real estate that's around you. When you see something that's cool, you know it. Now, when you talk to people in your neighborhood, you've walked your neighborhood 3 times a week for 12 weeks. You know every goddamn house that's in the area. There's no reason not to be an expert in that. Those are the most important things. So if there's one thing I could say to you, is educate yourself, which is free. The second thing is you have to have tactics. You have to stick to your tactics. That's where the working out. That's one of those tactics. When you're finished done working out, do your other tactics. Number 1, know who you are. On the side note of who you are, I have to write things down. People, I've been doing the same tactics. 3 of my tactics I've been doing for 6 years. Do you know every morning at 7:30, I write them down, the same 3 tactics. Every morning I write them down. I also write down Jim as my tactic. When I do the tactics, I scratch it off. I don't finish my day until they're scratched off. Hold yourself accountable. There's no one else here to hold yourself accountable. Hold yourself accountable. And the education is so important, man. People smell insecurity. And insecurity comes from lack of knowledge. I am extremely confident, not because I'm cocky, because I'm educated. Get yourself educated. Your confidence will produce an aura. That aura will get you clients. There's so much more I could talk about, but I know I have 45 minutes. I try to pack it in. Maybe another time we'll do social media, Mike. I think it's the end all be all. I think social media is the only way that you're going to be able to really weather the storm. No matter what happens to us, you will always have your brand. And social media is that brand. And I'll say one more thing about social media. Social media is your resume. I'm going to tell you right now, If you don't have social media, you don't have a resume. So when your friends are having dinner and you're not there and they're talking and your friend goes, oh my God, this guy, Jason, he's the best. Well, tell me about it. What my friends do is they literally forward one of my posts from my social media to those people. And all of a sudden, this person has an introduction to me for over 30 minutes. And when I meet them, they know me. And the person they see here is who I am. The person you're talking to right now, dude, that's who I am 24/7. So when they meet me and they like my energy and they met my energy on the phone, no one's wasting time. The clients right away. I don't know, Mike. I think we're out of time. So
We get a quick question here. It says, what are some of the metrics you use to measure whether your tactics are contributing progress to your goals you set?
easy. My money I make, right? So if I'm making, like, I will give a great example. And this is when I start, like, I'm getting a little hyper, but this is like when I freak out, I even do more. So I had not thought, like, I have Jameson, somebody says thing called WeChat, and it's basically a CRM. You can auto drip, I don't believe in it, but it brings up 5 names every day that I need to reach out to. And I had not talked to this person in about a year. For some reason, he was not on my reach out, but I saw him on my contacts. And I was like, oh shit, I don't have a reminder for him. But let me just reach out. I reached out to him. I said, hey man, we haven't talked in a while. I hope everything's good with the family, yada, yada, yada. I never asked for business. People that tell you to ask for business, don't do it. People know what you do. And people know if you're good. That's a side note. So I texted him. I don't call, I text. I don't want to bother people. Hey man, his name's John. Hey John, it's been a while. I hope everything's doing good. He literally called me 5 seconds later. And he goes, now he's in the AI business. He goes, what kind of AI do you have? And I'm like, nothing. He's like, man, I've been looking at homes the last 2 weeks. I want to get back into the city. And you just reached out to me. How many other people may I have lost or forgotten about? Like, that's when I start getting crazy. And then all of a sudden I'll reach out to like 100 people in one day. Like, but that's, I know, like, the metrics. Do I sit there and have, like, if you're looking for 1 + 1 = 2, you're in the wrong business. You have to do everything, and then you'll get information back. So my metrics are, if I'm sending postcards out in a certain way, and I send them out for 12 weeks and no one calls me, I ain't doing that again. I'm gonna send the postcards out. Hey, let's switch it up. If I'm doing social media and my reels start to die out, all right, let's switch the reels up. I need to do this angle. I need to do this angle. I'm constantly mini pivoting on what I'm doing. But huge tasks that those come in and out, I got to tell you, I haven't removed a huge task in years because they are really in line with who I am, because I'm really honest to myself. I don't lie to myself. If I suck, I suck. If I'm good, I'm good. But I would tell you, the feedback you're going to get on your tasks are going to be the people that reach out to you. And when you do postcards, do different URLs, do different QR codes so you can see what's coming in the right way.
And another one here says, could you give us your top sources for real estate education, news, podcasts, publications?
Okay. My top podcast, economics, it's heavy. So, depending on your economic background, the number one podcast I think right now is All In. I don't listen. So here's weird. I don't watch real estate shows, and I don't listen to real estate podcasts because I'm in it. Like, there's nothing that someone in New York is going to tell me that I don't know because I have boots on the ground. I'm going to trust myself. I listen to more of macroeconomics that are going on. And I would tell you All In podcast is great. If you're looking for a real estate podcast about people that are successful and how they get there, not to toot my own horn, I have about 5,000 subscribers. My podcast, The Jason Theory, that's all we do. We literally just shoot the breeze. It's an open discussion on what works and doesn't work. I had a guy on last week, Tony Angelos. He was going to go bankrupt last April. He literally said, who am I? What am I? And he realized he had no money. He dedicated all his resources to social media. He has a great social media site, and he's going to close 10 million this year from being bankrupt and never doing deals. So I bring on people that have success in all different ways. I think I do like my podcast and stuff like that, but All In is probably for economics and general venture capital and where money's going is a great one. It can get in the weeds. When it gets in the weeds and you don't understand something, I would just tell you to kind of like zoom off for a little bit. And then when you start hearing stuff you understand, come back in. I would tell you to read a great book. A great book is Relentless. Relentless is amazing. Relentless is by Grover. That's Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant's trainer. Everybody on this thing could be a little bit more like Michael and Kobe on the court and mindset. Another great book that I made my kids read, because if you do have kids, they do have a kids version of this. And that book is, oh my God, Jason. It's a book. It'll come to me. I should know it. It's a Green Beret that wrote the book, and now he does speaking. His name's Jocko, Jacko. And he has an amazing book. And I'm going to tell you, this book I read about 10 years ago. It's phenomenal. And it basically says that anything that happens in your life is your fault. If you're not ready for that, don't read it. Your success and failures are completely and utterly contributed to you and only you. I will tell you something I tell my kids. No one knows that they are not going to be able to do something until they listen to people outside. The only people that tell you you're going to fail and you can't do something are other people. If you've never tried something, how do you know you're going to fail? Because somebody that is not you is telling you that. So really, the mindset is a massive part of this. And I'm telling you, those books are all mindset books. Don't read real estate books. Guys, we're selling stuff. Read stuff that puts you in the mind of being self-aware and being disciplined.
I think that book called Extreme Ownership.
Yeah.
One more.
It is amazing. That book, I read that book about every 2 years to just put myself back in there. But they make a kids version. I'm telling you right now, have your kids read that book.
Cool. We got time for, I think, one more question here. Is there one tactic that you have implemented since the start of the year that put you outside of your comfort zone that's working?
No. My tactics, the only tactic I've really added is trying to do and pretty much accomplishing between 3 and 5 social media videos a week. And those are educational videos. And I'm going to tell you guys, the most important thing with these tactics and these videos and all this stuff is you just have to do it. And if you suck on video, everybody, I mean, there's personalities that are a little bit easier. I have a little bit easier of a personality to be on video. Like I just don't get nervous or anything like that. But you will get comfortable. The same way that you will get comfortable at an open house talking to strangers, you will get comfortable on video as long as you're yourself. The people that do not do good on video are trying to be someone else. Everyone on this call is really good at something. I don't know what it is, but you know what it is. And whatever it is, put it on video and put it out there. Someone is going to connect with you. And when they connect, you know there's a connection. then start to small pivot and open up so you grab more into your sphere. Guys, social media, I know people say this, but social media, I'm telling you, I saw a whole trading floor. I saw thousands and thousands of millionaires lose their job in a minute. Tech can change things overnight, and it's going to be social media. And I'm not saying this, but video, YouTube. You never wanted to start a YouTube page. Get on YouTube and watch a YouTube tell you how to start a YouTube. That's education. That's it.
Awesome, man. Well, this has been amazing. I've got like 2 or 3 pages of notes. Can give everybody give him a round of applause for sure. Jason, and this is one of the reasons that I love hanging out with him because he's tactical. He's got a lot of good ideas in his business, but he's disciplined. I think that's the key component behind all this. You can have all kinds of different tactics, but if you're not disciplined to execute on them, I think that's where you fail.
Yeah, can I add one more thing, Mike?
Yeah, yeah.
If you're doing 4 tactics and you're doing them all half-assed, cut down to 2 that are in line with your personality and dig into those. Those tactics are going to become second nature. When they become second nature, then add a new one, right? You'll be so engrossed with your tactics. It's going to be like your tactics should be like putting your pants on. You don't have to think about it. You just do it. Hopefully. Sorry, Mike.
Cool. Awesome, man. Well, we really appreciate this. I'm getting a lot of comments over here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, Jason, we appreciate your time today. There's no wonder you're at the top of your game. You're just amazing. So I appreciate you doing this for us
Yeah,
today.
anybody feel free to DM me on Instagram if you have other questions. I have no problem answering them. It's Focus Stratton, and the podcast is the Jason Theory.
I was going to say that. I was going to give you a plug there, but you did it. So awesome, brother. Well, I appreciate you so much, man. And hope everybody got a lot out of this today. Thank you.
I appreciate your time, guys.